Hi there, this is Luisa Heinzel. Thanks for joining me today. This is part 3 of my mini-series about my Christmas envelope notebook I've created for the Tim Holtz and Sizzix Christmas 2023 release. If you have missed the other videos of this series, the links are down below in the description box. In the first part, I have shown you how to create the base for such a notebook, and in the last video we have started decorating the pages and filling the little pockets, and that's what I want to finish today. So there's some more decoration to do. If you think, oh, it's too early for Christmas, just a quick reminder, you can of course transfer this idea to any other theme. If you don't like Christmas so early, then of course you can also do it in a totally other theme. So let's go on with the decoration. The last video stopped with the Santa, which I had cut in half, and now I want to put him here to this little pocket. So I've just glued a piece of paper on 3 sides so that we have a pocket from the right, and then Santa went on this little pocket. I think that looks really cute when he is only half. And I quickly want to explain something about my thoughts about grunge for this project. As you can see, this is not in those like typical Christmas colors. Yeah, many Christmas projects that I see are in those typical like green and red colors, and that is really nice. I don't want to say anything bad against those projects, yeah, don't get me wrong. But I wanted to have a really brownish and grungy look for this project, and it really helped me to destroy the edges of the single pieces a little bit. For example, on this CD sleeve, I've taken my fingernail. You can also take like tweezers or not so sharp scissors, for example, to bend the edges of the paper around the acetate. And then you get something that reminds to a circle, but it isn't a real circle anymore, so that it automatically looks a little bit grungy. Then you can add a little bit of ink or watercolor or some other wet medium to make that a little bit dirty, and you have the perfect grunge. Really easy and, you know, without any effort. I have decided that I want to have some golden elements throughout this journal as well, so I have filled this little shaker thingy there behind the acetate of the CD sleeve. You can shake that with some die cuts. So I have chosen the letters from the word Christmas and also 25 and cut that out several times to be able to fill that into the pocket. I've also added some golden confetti to this little sleeve, so that it matches this flower really well. The flower comes from my stash. That is some really weird material like plastic or something. And I think with the black botanicals on that and also the black label sticker, it looks really, really interesting. I like the combination of gold, black and brown that makes grunge like a little bit festive in some way. And for the whole time, I had this little tea bag on my table, which you can at the moment see in this little pocket on the left. And I thought I want to include this tea bag somehow into the notebook, but then it ended with the tea bag label for Santa, which I gave him into his hand, and I also glued the 25 to show that it's Christmas. And a really, really funny thing, I mean, you have to know, I'm doing this voiceover after I have seen the live video on Tim's channel where he has shown this project in his video. Of course, I have created it before he has shown it, yeah? So otherwise that would be like magic. And I'm laughing because he found out that both halves of the center are matching up when you flip the pages in a way that was not planned by me. Yeah, it is totally coincidence. If you have seen it in his video, you might have thought, oh, that is nice, but it was totally coincidence. I was totally shocked, I mean in a positive way, that he found that out, it's just funny because it's actually a really great idea to do that on purpose. I mean, in this project, it was coincidence. Why am I telling you that? Because you could do it on purpose, and that it would be really cute, especially if this was a gift, and the person who receives that can find that out. Yeah, that some things are like halves and then they are complete when you flip the pages. You could do that like a whole little puzzle, and you could do that also with other pages, and not only with Santa, but also, for example, with a paper doll or a flower that is cut in half or something else. I would suggest to use bigger pieces, like, for example, as I said, the Santa is really great for that, or the tree would also work for that, I think. Or yeah, like bigger flowers. Perhaps you have some Christmas flowers or something like that as a die cut, or you could also, of course, use some cutout images. Yeah, that doesn't have to be a die cut. You could also use some images from book pages or magazines or whatever you have at hand. On the left side, I've created another tuck spot with this little boy. I think that looks really cute. For that, I've also used one of those negative pieces that you get when you cut your die cuts. Yeah, so that what normally goes into the trash can is, for me, a really great material to create pockets and tuck spots, and also backgrounds for tags, for example, or journaling cards. And after I have done some of my mark making for dummies with those little black dots from the berries, I'm smearing some texture paste. I guess that this was grit paste. Have you seen the jar? I can't remember that so well, but I think I have used grit paste because grit paste already is a little bit more grungy than like normal texture paste, and I have tinted that with a little bit of distress paint, and now I'm adding some spray stain to make this look not the same color everywhere. Yeah, so then you get a little variation in this texture. I mean, a color variation in the texture. For the closure, I wanted to have this little star and an eyelet. So that has several different reasons. The star looks cute, of course, and it gives this eyelet a little bit more interest. And on the other hand, it makes it really sturdy. Yeah, remember, we have the backdrop paper, and then we have the paper of the envelope and another backdrop paper. So that are already 3 layers of paper. That is relatively much. And with the eyelet, it gets sturdy. But if you add something below, like the star, that is another layer of paper, or for example a round element, you could also punch out a round circle, then you get even more sturdiness to that area. And that is important to me because you want to open and close this journal later without any problems and without any damages. On the right side here, I've used the negative of this die cut of this little branch. I think that is the wrong word. Twig, hopefully, I don't know, as a stencil so that I get this brown impression to the background, and then I have glued the positive of that on top. The little bow comes from the sleigh die cut. That bow is just so cute, and I'm sure I will use that for everything in the future, because I mean, you don't have to attach it to the sleigh. Yeah, you could also use it for any other thing, as you could see here. And for the inside, here I've tried something that turned out relatively well in my eyes. I was really happy with that. I've taken the single pieces of the Trimetry die cut and cut that out from relatively thin paper. So this is actually a relatively old receipt that once was in the stash of my grandma. And that is relatively thin paper. And I wanted to try to use the shapes from the Trimetry set as collage material. So that shows that you don't have to do the die cuts like they are shown on the package. I have talked about that very often, but I want to point out that this can also be done with the colorized die cuts. Normally, a colorized die cut is meant to be really layered, dimensional, in different colors so that you get this depth. Yeah, so that's the reason why it's called colorized, because of the different colors that you can use. But you can also change that up and use that as collage material for backgrounds, for example. And that's exactly what I have done here. And I think with this little bit of crayon, those trees get so much to the background that they are really like backgroundish, but they have a shape that you can see and that stands out from the background, even if it's still in the background. I don't know if that makes sense. To me, it makes sense, but sometimes I'm not so sure if that makes sense for other people as well. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment and just ask. Yeah, if I explain something that is not clear or that you don't understand, please just ask. It's also sometimes relatively hard to explain my thoughts in English. You know, English is not my mother language, and sometimes I'm struggling with the things because and the words because it's sometimes even hard for me to explain it in German, which is my mother language. Yeah, because talking about thoughts and what you feel when you see things, that is difficult because for everyone it's a little bit different. And when you look at this, you might think, what is that? That is not a background. And for another person, it can be the perfect background. And that makes it even harder to talk about it and to explain. So let's add a few Louise splatters. Of course, those are white. And they, in this case, remind to snow, I would say. To work with repetition is a really, I would say, secret tip. I have seen many projects, also from other creators, that play with repetition. And once I started doing that as well, I have the feeling that my projects are more harmonious in some way. So let me try to explain what I have done here. Perhaps you have seen this golden flower on the other side of the journal. It's exactly the same flower, and also the die cuts are nearly the same. Here is this eucalyptus thingy, which I don't have on the other side, but the other flowers are the same, and also the colors are the same. So that means I have used nearly the same materials. Here I will also use a paper doll, which I have not used on the other side. I'm sorry, I just had to think about that. No, there's no paper doll on the other side. On the other side, there's just a quote. But as you can see, the CD sleeve, the flower, I mean the golden flower, and the black die cuts are like nearly the same. And only the position and the arrangement is different, but the materials are the same. Holy crap, what am I trying to say here? So I want to say, if you are limited in your supplies, for example, you have only, let's say you have only golden flowers and you have only black die cuts and a few CD sleeves. Yeah, then you have everything you need. Just I mean, that's only an example. Yeah, I hope you get what I try to say here. Just take those elements and arrange them in different ways. Then you get something different but harmonious at the same time. But with repetition, the whole project gets, I would say, more cohesive than if you would use really many different things, really many different colors, for example, and different shapes. Repetition can also help to make a busy project more calm. I would say that this project is relatively busy because of all of the tiny details, but this repetition of colors and shapes and materials and so on makes it calm somehow, even if it's busy. I don't know how I can explain that in other words. I hope you understand what I mean. So for the left pocket here, which I'm just deciding if it shall stay a pocket or not. I ended up with making a fake pocket or something with this also negative piece of the die cut to make it look like there are several pages layered over each other on the left side. I've just glued some paper scraps behind this base where I cut the ho-ho and the 25 and 12 out. And then I've just glued that down. Of course, you could turn this into a pocket. As I said, this is just a fake pocket. It looks like it is a pocket somehow, but it isn't. I have done that so that Tim doesn't have to take too many things out from the journal, because this is already relatively complex. It has many pages, and I don't want it to make it too complicated to explore this thing. Yeah, if you have never had this in your hands and you have to show it, especially in a live video, you don't want to confuse the other person. Yeah, so that was the reason. But if you want to use this kind of notebook, for example, as a December daily, or you want to collect some treasures during December, for example, like notes that you got from your hubby, or perhaps you want to collect your favorite chocolate paper or something else in this journal, then of course you could add way more pockets than I did here. You could also leave all of the pockets empty first, and then in December you could fill them. This would also be really cute as like an advent calendar, for example. Then you would have to make tinier tags or storage solutions so that you can get 25 things into this, but that would make a really great gift, I would say. For this pocket, I've just torn a piece of this vellum. So this little pocket is made from an envelope that, oh no, that is not the envelope, that is, but it's also vellum. It was just a little vellum bag. I've just torn this little piece out so that it reveals the negative of the other side. I mean, the negative die cut of the other side. And this little tree is just the tiny tree from the Trimetry set. This set it's just so cute. This tree is just so cute. I'm not so into Christmas trees, to be honest. And I think I don't have another Christmas tree die cut, but that one, it's just cute, and it's just genius that you can trim that where you want, and that you can have so many trees in different sizes with just one set. That's just genius. Okay, so let's talk about this first page with the stripes and the 25. As you can see, or perhaps you can't see it, then let me explain it. This page is a little bit more stiff than the others. I think you can see that when you look relatively close. I have glued relatively stiff paper to this area, but not too stiff. As you can see, I've used those stripes from the set, from the, how is that called? Yeah, this stripes set. I don't know the name. I always forget those names, especially from the new sets. I'm such a, like, I have a hole in my brain and I can't remember those names. But you can see there are gaps in between of the stripes, and also the 25 is not like such a solid thing that's glued down. I've done that because I wanted to have this page like stiff but flexible at the same time. I have the feeling sometimes that I'm the only one who wants to have this tactile emotion when I have a journal or something like a notebook or an album in my hands. A junk journal, for example, let's say a hardcover junk journal, to me it has to feel like a really heavy book. A softcover junk journal has to feel like a soft cover, like a cushion. A notebook has to feel like a notebook, and an album has to feel like an album when I touch it. And the cover is relatively important to get this feeling. I would be really interested in how you see that. Do you see that the same? Do you pay attention to that? Or is that something that doesn't matter to you when you make a journal? That would be really interesting, because sometimes I think I'm the only one who feels it like that. So yeah. That being said, let's come to this little tag. For this tag, I wanted to have something that looks like abstract paper clips. You can see from the festive blocks, I have taken these little like house shapes and glued that, like horizontally. Added these little label stickers, and on the other side, this round thing. Do you know those book darts? Barbara at 49 Dragonflies, hi Barbara, she has gifted those book darts to me a relatively long time ago. Perhaps you know those. And those were my inspiration for this shape and for this tag. Perhaps you can see that. Of course, you could also use like paper clips. Yeah, that's also a possibility. But I wanted to play with really abstract things in this notebook combined with really concrete scenes. For example, all of the paper dolls are standing or sitting in really concrete scenes, but those little dots and this like fake mark making is really abstract. And also other areas like those stenciled areas, for example, are really abstract. And I think that's a really great combination, especially when you have a relatively busy project with many pages and many details. Then it again calms down this whole thing a little bit when you play with contrasts style-wise, if that makes sense. So here I'm adding some finishing touches. I like to go through a project after I had taken a step back, and then I like to check where I can add some more details. And you can also check what's laying around on your desk. Perhaps you have some leftover die cuts or something like that, and then you can decide where it needs something more, where perhaps something is missing, and you can use those leftover pieces for decorating the rest. So here I'm showing you a closer look at this, and this is going to become a little like flip through. And I'm also doing that because I would like to talk about something that I, and perhaps you as well, sometimes totally forget. When I have finished such a project, especially when it's a make that goes to Tim, then I'm on the one hand excited because I want to know what he thinks about it. That's the same when I make a journal for my shop, for example, or I make a journal to gift away. Yeah, but I'm always a little bit excited. And on the other hand, I'm glad that it is finished. Sometimes there are things that went wrong, for example, or there were some problems. Then I'm happy that I could solve those problems. But this time to sit down and look really close at what you have done and take time to make like a flip through for yourself. I think sometimes we don't take this time, and this is really important. When I look at this now, this really like comes to my mind really, really massively, because especially when you, for example, have a YouTube channel, or you have to make several journals for a shop, for example, and you have this deadline problem, let's call it like that, then you are happy that you have finished something, but where's the time to be proud of yourself? Where's the time that you take for yourself and sit down and think, okay, I'm proud, I have managed this, I had problems, but I could solve them, I have learned something new. So there are all of those things that we should have in mind when we have finished something like this. And I think there are also sometimes people who can't appreciate what we have done. I read that relatively often, and that's a really sad thing, that you gift something away and the other person can't appreciate what you have done, especially with junk journaling. Some people don't get that, and they can't understand what they got as a present, because it's not just a bunch of paper, it's art, and It's time that was spent, ideas, energy, something of your heart and your soul. And it's so sad when other people can't appreciate that. And with that in mind, I think it's even more important that we ourselves sit down and realize that for ourselves, yeah, that this is nice, that we can be proud of it, that we made something beautiful. So please have that in mind when you finish your next project. So I hope you like this. And if you have any questions, as I said, please leave a comment. If you want to see more detailed pictures and also have more information about the die cuts that I have used, then please check out the info box below this video. I have made a blog post, which is linked down below this video, where you can see detailed pictures and get some more information about all of the things that I used here. And perhaps you want to have some photos to have a reference for your own creations. Please feel free to use those photos and take these ideas and make them into your own and use them for your own projects. So have a very great day and see you the next time. Bye bye.